Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me. My name is Helen Aha or Helen Argeru. This is a special topic, alliances, networks, and mentoring. How can they really benefit us? Well, I'm all about this idea that your life is an amazing testimony to an amazing life force that moves through you. And every single thing you do is a unique aspect of you. Every way that you make a conversation, every friend you make, every lesson you learn, and especially every single insight that you have when you learn and have this aha moment, you have like very special, unique intelligence in those moments. And I think alliances, networks, and mentoring help to develop that actually quite a lot more than many other things. For example, I've had some amazing connections with people all around the world, really following my hobby and my passion, which was drumming, for a very long time, and using that form of creative expression as a type of therapy. I met some incredible people from all over the world. I've been to centers and well-being forums and festivals and met people that have this very unique and amazing passion for rhythm, percussion, drumming, and even sacred sound, that were also wondering how they could create more networks, more alliances with people that had this very special interest as well. So over that 20-year, 2-decade period as a clinical psychologist, I met so many inspiring people, and one or two of them became my mentors, people who had actually studied the deeper science of rhythmic entrainment and how it affects the brain, and built some amazing partnerships with them, which I still use today to actually help people with depression, anxiety, or actually kind of special needs cases in families that are really struggling. And what became so fascinating about that was I realized only years later, 15 years later, that that was a very innovative, pioneering mentorship. That person who I'd met, Jeffrey Strong in Santa Fe, New Mexico, as an example, was actually a mentor of some type over the years. And we created this alliance with rhythmic entrainment intervention, which now has become, as I said, over 15 years, a really trendy, popular part of YouTube videos, of kind of meditative music. Even now it's being used, binaural beats, which is an aspect of what we did, but not really the golden nugget of it. There's way more to it than that. Is now used even to help people get into the right state to study, just at the click of a button. You know, you can kind of download very powerful ways to change the brainwaves in the brain. So without that kind of networking and that trust to really build something with someone that I knew was very, very far away, very, very different to me, I would never have been able to really inspire myself so much and realize my own aha moments, my own special insights, my own special magic as a drummer, as a psychologist, as someone who was so passionate about sound and what it can do to the body, would never have really become such a strong, powerful contribution, because I had the strength of, for example, Jeffrey and his whole institute and many other drummers around the world and therapists who are using rhythm in a very specific way to support my vision to do it in my specific way. There's also this amazing part of networking and being mentored in various kind of open groups or big forums, and those examples are conferences, or maybe, you know, groups where you feel you're with like-minded people who really inspire you and really mirror back to you something very powerful about you and what's happening inside of your own career development, what's happening in your learning journey. What can you then see in these people that you really admire, that remind you of you? I mean, this is such a priceless way to know how we touch each other's lives, but we also show each other the magic that we see in each other through each other. And this is such an amazing part of, you know, being in the world and reality testing, you know, looking at reality and understanding your own identity through that. For those of you that know anything about the Enneagram, you'll know that I'm maybe a 4, or maybe you don't know, so I'm telling you, And this really means that I've had a long journey in my life of exploring the world through my identity. Who am I? What does it mean that I am me? How do I contribute? And I guess one of the beautiful gifts of that has been to be able to notice that aspect of building alliances and networking with people around the world, and then also bringing, your own kind of way of doing things into alignment with who you really are, when you do have certain mirroring and certain mentors who can show who you are back to you through how they experience you. And so that's been a very special gift that I can, talk about and explain to people through the fact that I've really studied seeing the world through my own essence and my own identity, my own kind of particular, at times even neurotic, analytical way of looking at what does it mean to be me, and what does it mean to be with someone else? What are my values? What are their values? How do we connect? And how do we trust that I will take myself where I need to go? And even if I'm in front of a situation where things could go wrong, or maybe that person doesn't give back to me as much as I feel I give, or maybe there isn't enough interaction that feels like it's going somewhere, those are all amazing learning opportunities that we have to trust and work through, and have the courage to keep some of who we really are intact and aligned, and then also become flexible to see, does this new way of doing things really work for me? Could it work for me? Is there a way for me to be more flexible about how I perceive others and how I work with others and how I create alliances? I remember years back doing a very important Sustainable Development Goal Summit. I was meeting some amazing women all around the world, especially through a conference forum called Women's Economic Forum, but years before that also had a really strong international speaking career, and was in fact invited very young from my student days to present in the United Kingdom some of my ideas when I was studying back in South Africa. And I remember each one of these moments have become really amazing ways to build an international community of networks, partners, alliances all over the world. And I've really been drawn to them and really developed them over the years. So when we did the Sustainable Development Goal Forum and Summit, I invited some of these women from the Netherlands, from abroad, from the Women's Economic Forum, many different other partnerships that I'd developed over the years that I felt were successful. And we had this forum, and one of the main points was how important it is to build these kinds of alliances. The Sustainable Goal 17, for example, is all about this unification, consensus. What does it feel like when you're in a group of people that really get you and really want the same thing as you? Well, as a planet, we're trying to create that now. And so this trust that we have to have in ourselves and in each other to have somewhat of the best outcome come out of this is a very powerful one. And it's something we do need to test out. So we become more mature in how we make decisions, the more we experience different challenges in life, and the more we are faced with some things we need to decide about. And so we learn how to be more specifically selective for our own needs. But we cannot really get there until we take that on ourselves and really have the courage to test it out, right? You got to try a few connections, a few networks, a few alliances to see, how does this fit with me? Is it really giving me the opportunity I need? Is there something else I could be learning if it's not this thing that I thought I would get out of it? And then I want to just share with you, finally, one of the most powerful alliances that we have in life is with ourselves. So how do we become our own allies in life? How do we actually create alliance with the parts of us that might be, really struggling or in conflict or in a struggle with something inside of us that we can't always resolve? I remember a great theorist, drama therapist back in Argentina, who talked about the cop outside and the cop inside the head. And he was an amazing man who was quite activistic at the time, talking about the very kind of dictatorship style of governance in Argentina at the time. And he was doing this kind of invisible theater, which was in the middle of a restaurant, for example, actors were placed there to actually start a conversation about how expensive the prices were on the menu, for example, and then they would kind of, have a whole theatrical piece unfold for people to become more aware of what is going on in the political situation, to cut through the apathy, to really wake people up and to create a kind of protest against dictatorship at the time. And he developed this really beautiful theory that echoes so strongly the psychological theory about all of this, where he then explained that sometimes we think that we're against something outside of us that's unjust or unfair. And at times it might be in our societies, maybe in certain connections, maybe in certain friendships, in certain partnerships or joint ventures. You might start working with someone and think, oh, the problem's there. That person is not A, B, C, D, E, and I'm J, K, L, M, N. So I should definitely separate here because I need more J, K, L in that person. But in fact, that is showing Augusta Boal, the drama therapist's point, and the one we have in psychology all the time about the inner critic. The cop inside our heads is often the one that we need to create the biggest alliance with. So I'm asking you today, what is your cop inside your head telling you about getting connected, about getting into relationships with people that maybe you don't know so well, or maybe you're not so sure about? If you're an introvert and you struggle with that kind of thing, try and work through that and really find out what's the worst thing that could happen. How can you be more selective? What kind of criteria would you need in order to be 50% more flexible, or maybe 100% more flexible? What could you really get out of a joint partnership that you couldn't get any other time is a question for all of us to be asking, extroverts, introverts, anyone. And what can you be doing to monopolize this relationship in many other ways? How can you make it useful to you in many different ways, socially, professionally, and even personally? Some connections can turn out to be great friendships. Some of them can be priceless professional relationships that take you through your entire career and help galvanize things in your career pathway that you could never achieve on your own. So keep thinking about what are the benefits, and then look at what is the cost, what's the challenge, what is that cop inside my head telling me about all of this that I need to work on, because perhaps you might have some old childhood stuff or past experiences, or maybe even heartbreaks with previous love partners or in relationships, felt very unsure how to get your needs met. And maybe you need to work on some of that to really find the way to begin to create this beautiful alliance between you and what you really need, so that you can attract and galvanize amazing connections with people all over the world. So I hope my words have been in some way inspiring to you to take that step if you never have. And if you have, thank you for being part of the amazing network of people out there that reach out, that connect, that support and inspire others, because I'm always drawn to connecting with many of you. And if you have a chance to connect on LinkedIn, I'm open for that always. I have a great network there, and I continue to build it with people from all around the world that do amazing things, simple things, standard things, daily support and information through their lives onto those pages are really stimulating me day by day. So I really welcome any of your connection, any of your alliance, anything you think we can do. Please reach out. I'd love to meet you. I'm very much about global female leadership right now, focused on health thought leadership, and therefore have been reaching out to many women around the world who are innovators, researchers, speakers, authors, therapists, people that have 20 to 30 years in the health industry, either in wellness, in well-being. And this is why I wanted to do this video, because I really do feel that my life and my brand, Woman of Truth, is a testimony to the great networking, the alliances, and the mentoring that's happened in many of these relationships with some of the women I've met during this pathway. Curating them to become speakers at my events has led me to learn so much about all kinds of new things like CBD research, on female cancers to how to create a mindset for recovery and not get attached to the prognosis, but rather understand the diagnosis really well. And then also the deeper layers of why we struggle with our health and what we need to do to begin to bring more education and more support to specifically women and integrative health. But then, of course, all of us, there's so many things changing on the planet now. So many of these women I've met, if you're one of them watching, thanks so much for your alliance and your connection, have inspired me and educated me way beyond what I could have done in a book or on a page. Really, through the relationship, there have been many things exchanged and many beautiful things mirrored back to me. So I hope it's helped. 3 very important things to remember. Those relationships will mirror back to you something very unique and beautiful about who you are and what's unique to you. Then you also need to think a little bit about, what is your kind of cop inside your head telling you, and how can you put that part of you at rest? How can you come to peace with that and really look at what you can really galvanize in relationships that you can't any other way? And then if you want to reach out in any way, please do so. LinkedIn is a great way, and I look forward to meeting any of you anytime. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Helen, aha, like I said. Bye-bye.